Hi, my name is William Kwan. This is my PJ presentation of the brief history of New York City. The first inhabitants of present-day New York City were Native Americans. These people were called the Lenape tribe. The language that they spoke were Algonquian. Many of today's uh, boroughs, such as Queens and Manhattan, were adopted from the Algonquian language. The first European settlers in present-day New York City were Dutch settlers. These people were primarily fur traders. Their first big settlement was New Amsterdam. In 1664, the English conquered uh, the area from the Dutch and renamed New Amsterdam, New York after the Duke of York. The Stamp Act Congress met in New York City in 1765 and was the first organized resistance to British authority across the colonies. And as the American Revolution was drawing to a close in November 25th, 1783, George Washington returned to the city as the last British forces left the city back to Britain. And the first Congress in the United States held its first sitting in Federal Hall, which is on Wall Street. The first steps in expanding the United States was the United States Supreme Court, United States Bill of Rights, and it was also where it was drafted and ratified. During the late 1800s, the Great Irish Famine brought a large influx of Irish immigrants, and by 1850, Irish comprised of a quarter of the city's population. With such huge increase of residents, New York City had to adapt government institutions such as the New York City Police Department and public schools. It was also how the Statue of Liberty was built, or reason why it was built. New York City became the most populous city in the world. Uh, Starting in 1925, it overtook London as the biggest city in the world, which reigned for a century. During the Great Depression, many skyscrapers were built, like the Empire State Building. This time, many of the city's bridges, parks, and parkways was built, like the Brooklyn Bridge was built during the Great Depression. This is a picture of the Creamery bringing back thousands of US troops from overseas after World War II. After returning World War II veterans and immigrants from Europe created an economic boom, which led to a huge boost, which led to the developments of the outer boroughs such as Queens and Brooklyn. New York City was the place where ships and other war efforts were being made. So after the war ended, what did the city do with all these buildings? Well, they converted into commercial buildings, culture centers, and also financial centers. During the 80s, New York City saw the rebirth of Wall Street. The city reclaimed its role as the center of worldwide financial industry, although unemployment and crime remained high, which peaked later in the decade. The city later resumed its social and economic recovery, bolstered by the influx of Asians and Latin Americans immigrants. present-day New York City. On the left is, of course, a picture of Times Square. New York City is home to over 22 million people, including Manhattan and the outer boroughs. The picture on the right is the planned Freedom Tower. So far, it has just reached its 100th floor and it's destined to finish in 2015.